I don't think, and different Christians have different views on this, I don't think God sends anyone to hell. I think we choose hell for ourselves. If you decide to put God first, I think God is then what you will receive in the afterlife. And God says, you wanted me, you will get me. Guess what? I am the source of all life. I am the source of all joy. I am the source of all peace. I am the source of bliss. You wanted me, you get all that. But if you wanted something else, whatever it is, money, fame, drugs, God says, okay, you did not want me, fine. You get what you want. And that is the exact opposite. If you're moving away from the source of life, guess where you're moving? To death. If you chose not to pursue life, you have chosen to pursue death. If the source of all happiness and bliss and joy is over there, and you have chosen to walk here, I think he ends up respecting what you have decided. So he doesn't throw people into hell. I think we choose that for ourselves.
Two possibilities if God exists. In eternity, you're going to be with him or you're not going to be with him, right? That's logically the only two options. If you want to be with him, you will seek him out and be with him. If you don't want to be with him, God will not force you into his presence against your will.
C.S. Lewis is right in his book, The Great Divorce. He says, in the end, there's really only two kinds of people. Those who say to God, thy will be done, and those to whom God says, thy will be done. All who are in hell choose it. Now you might say, why on earth would anybody choose hell? Well, what Lewis says is we make these small daily decisions that distance us from God. I've had people tell me straight up that, look, I'm going to commit some sin. If I have to continue in that sin, if that's going to keep me away from God, then so be it. A famous atheist recently died, and he said, if stories come around of me in a bedside conversion, it's not true. I will not believe in God. The human ability to claim autonomy is powerful. And if we don't want to believe in God, God will let us not believe in him.
No one can earn salvation by works. That it is impossible to earn salvation. It is only by God's grace that when God judges the totality of one's life, if you irrevocably reject Christ out of your life, then you repulse the grace of God and you fall back on his justice. And as we said earlier, you know where you stand there. So even though the unbeliever may do this act of tremendous courage and good, it isn't as though that merits eternal life. If he is rejecting Christ, he is rejecting God's gracious provision for sin. He is rejecting the one who has died in his place, and therefore choosing to have to die himself. And that isn't unjust on God's part, because this is what every one of us really deserves. Salvation is by grace and not by works.
I love you so much, I'm going to force you to love me. Can he do that? No, he can't do that. Love, by definition, must be freely given. So if he truly did love you, what would he do? He would leave you alone. That's exactly what God does. He keeps sending us cards, letters, and flowers while we're here. And if we keep rejecting him, he gives us up to our own desires.
We see God's love by Jesus coming down, but his justice is met as well. Because he's fully human, he represents us and pays the price that we can't. So God doesn't send good people to hell because there's nobody who's good. And God gives us free will. If we don't want to be with him, he's going to let us reject him. But for those who want to be forgiven and be with God in eternal life, God has sent his Son, Jesus Christ, if we will simply believe in him.